Welcome to Northlandia, a place to bring your curiosity because here you'll find curiosities. I'm Wyatt Buckner of the Duluth News Tribune, and I will be your guide as we discover the unique and fascinating stories here in the Northland. Here we celebrate the region's distinctive people, places, and history. In this episode, we look at the various smiles that have overlooked a popular Duluth swimming hole. Let's venture forth into Northlandia. Here to share with us the smiles of Amity Creek, I'm joined again by reporter Jimmy Lovrien. Jimmy, welcome back.
Hi, Wyatt. Good to be back.
Yeah, so Jimmy, how did you go about finding the story, finding out about it? Because I'm familiar with Amity Creek. Granted, it's a lengthy area. I particularly like going to the big waterfall with the wooden bridge there. I love getting some drone aerials of the area, especially in the springtime when the snow is melting and the water starts rushing hard. But this is, as we talked about beforehand, a little further up the creek.
Exactly. So this is the swimming hole that's basically like at the top of Seven Bridges Road. Seven Bridges Road, it winds through Lester Park, kind of and it crosses all these stone bridges that go over Amity Creek, right? And so you're kind of following that up the hill. And then one of the last bridges, if not the last before you get to the intersection of Maxwell Road and Skyline, which will take you to Hawk Ridge, right before you get to the top, there's a bridge. And if you look to your right as you're going up, there used to be a smiley on the face of the rock. I guess I always thought it was just graffiti. I know I'd seen it in the past because I like that drive. I like biking down the hill, stuff like that. And so I've seen it. I just thought it was graffiti, but it's like a thing. And I found out that it's a thing because of Northlandia. It made it onto our list of story ideas, and that's how I learned more. And thankfully, Chuck Frederick, our editorial page editor, 15 years ago wrote about this and kind of solved the mystery of it, and it dates back to the 50s probably. So it's a lot longer of a history than I thought, and it's not, I guess, it depends on people's definitions of graffiti versus landmark versus art, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of how I learned more. I needed a story because a few of my ideas fell through. So I went to the list and thought, this might be interesting. And so, I pursued it that way. And thankfully, Chuck did the legwork 15 years ago.
So you were already aware of the smiley face before.
Right.
That was one of the things, you go by it and you're like, oh, that's interesting. That must be graffiti.
Right, exactly.
But then you just seeing it on the list that
I guess there was more to it.
It's not just graffiti.
Right. People know that swimming hole because of that smiley. So most recently, right now, it's not there. It's been painted over. But not too long ago, it was just like a blue spray paint or something that's, a mouth and two eyes, mouth is smiling. And it's on this rock face, and it's facing this swimming hole that is relatively popular on a hot summer day. And it's a little bit shallower. And then I think maybe and I haven't swam there. Don't take swimming advice. Don't depend on me to say what is safe to swim at. But I think that it is like the shallower one. And then there's a little bit of some rapids or a little waterfall or whatever. And then below that is, I guess, a deeper swimming hole. But anyway, it's not there anymore. I discovered as I went up to go get an updated photo of it. But so you can see it from the bridge. Well, you could see it from the bridge as you crossed it. People there's various names that people call it, like the smiley hole, swimming hole, all these different things. I don't know if it really has an official name, but people remember it from back into the 50s. It's been there for a while in different forms. It didn't start out as a smiley face, like the two eyes and a smile. It started off with a smile. It adds to your face value message, and no actual smiley face, but that's what it started out with. And then over the years, it's been covered up and replaced or faded and replaced and has taken various forms into now what most recently is just kind of resembled a graffiti smiley. But it's got origins back 60 plus years.
So all the times that you've seen it, was it always the same style of smiley face, or was it, or were you not paying that close of attention?
Yeah, I don't know if I was paying that close of attention. I've got in the article, you can see a couple of Google street views from it from 2019, which is when I saw like the blue, blue-green paint. And then if you go back, there's also a 2011 shot of it. And that one says smile, ! Kind of like the original one, with like a crude smiley below it. I don't know I guess I was here in 2013 and on, so probably if that was still there in a few years, I probably saw that one, but I don't know if I would have made the connection that was like a smile rock. I don't know. I think I would have just thought both were graffiti and both were, I wasn't paying that close of attention to it, but.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And as we were just talking about before the podcast recording a little bit here, this is now the second story that you've done that involved Chuck Frederick and as former reporting.
Right.
I'm starting to wonder if we should have him on as a Northlandia guest at some point. It sounds like he's reported on some interesting stuff.
Yeah, he's had a long career here and has some interesting stories over the years. I think he'd be a great guest. But yeah, no, thankfully he did the legwork, kind of how it came about back in 2008 for him. Someone asked about it. He crowdsourced an answer for it. He had a column and he asked, readers, hey, what do you know about this smile rock in Lester Park along Amity Creek? And I guess, what he had said at the time was his voicemail box was full, and his email inbox was just filled with people, their own stories or their own memories of it, and people who had lived in the area or frequented the swimming hole growing up and remembered who had actually painted it in the first place. So several people remembered it from the late 1950s, and several of the former neighbors of Paul Lusua, they recall him as being the original artist. So he was described as neighbors in Chuck's piece as a little old Finlander bachelor, and he would walk Seven Bridges Road to catch, he'd walk down and catch the bus and then, come back up with some, provisions from the store. And he, kind of a little thing he would do as a little business or something was, paint logos and stuff on the side of trucks or someone's mailbox, put their name on it or something. And so he had that artistic and, calligraphy background, I suppose. And so when you look, and so anyway, Chuck was able to kind of tell the story of that, how the rock got there. But after that ran, then Chuck's neighbor showed up with a family photo from 1966, a family photo of the rock face. Like it was like his family was swimming next to it and posed for a photo. By the smile it adds to your face value, that what is believed to be kind of the original message. And so then, now we've got back almost 60 years, kind of a visual record of it. We don't have every year or every iteration of it, but it was a far cry from, I think, some of these graffiti-like smileys that I've described. I mean, it says smile, exclamation point. It adds to your face value, and very neat, almost looks stenciled. I suppose it could be hand painted. It's definitely not spray paint. And then the S, like in the old-timey chapter books, the first letter of a chapter or something like that will be like fancy and have like design elements and all these things. And that's kind of what this S is. And then everything's kind of framed in. It's very elaborate and nice looking, and would not look like graffiti. It looks like a business sign or something like that. But then we've got photos from 2008. And by then it looks like the smile exclamation point was kind of traced with probably spray paint, maybe hand painted, but it was traced. And then underneath there's like a smiley face with a tongue sticking out, and then random I'm looking and it looks like someone wrote hi on the cheek. There's maybe it's someone's name. I'm not really sure what all is written on it, but and then there's an even more faded smiley under it. And so anyway, by 2008 it had, lost its luster, I suppose. And then it took another form in 2011 where, again, it said smile exclamation point, but instead of tracing that original message from the 50s or 60s that this Paul had drawn on, it's much bigger, and then there's a little smiley underneath it. At some point that is replaced by just that simple blue-green smiley face. And that's the most recent one I saw. I mean, just a few years ago, I think, or maybe within a year or so. But when I went there last week, so late October, I went down there and tried to get an updated photo of what it looked like now, and it seems to be painted over. And it's been painted over before, but
not just gone; it's painted over.
I think so. I can't tell. It looks like it. Sometimes when you look on Google Maps.
I was wondering if it was like someone intentionally like cleaned it off,
Right.
or if it was like the weather, like in rain and stuff. Because we had that big rain not too long ago. But like if you're saying it's painted over,
it sure looks like it. And they did an okay job of matching the color of the rock. If you look on Google Maps, I think there's like a year where it was painted over with like a tan paint that clearly didn't match the rock. Mm-hmm. This one, you kind of, I don't know if unless you knew what you were looking for, you maybe wouldn't see it. But once you notice it, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. But it blends in a little bit better with the rock. I did ask the city if this was something the Parks Department does, and I kind of asked, well, it's been around a while. How does one determine what's graffiti and vandalism, and what's a landmark, and what's art? And I haven't gotten an answer. So
they didn't answer you?
Right. I'm sure.
So we don't know if they were responsible for this or not.
Exactly. I don't know if they were responsible for it. Maybe it was someone who was just sick of what looked like graffiti. But
well, Jimmy, you know how you fight vandalism. more vandalism. You're just painted over.
Right. So who knows? I don't know if this will, and I'm not advocating one way or another, but maybe this will prompt someone to return. It's kind of been like it's kind of come and gone.
Tread lightly here, General. Don't start don't start a graffiti war with the smiley rock of Amity Creek.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not encouraging anything, but I think as history shows us, it comes and goes over the years. So I don't know if it'll come back or not, but anyway, it's got a really interesting history that I think dates. I mean, one, it has a history. It's not just graffiti. Two, it dates back way further than I would have thought, and so people kind of know the swimming hole because of the Smile Rock, and I think that'll probably, for locals, will outlast whether or not there's any sort of painted face on the rock or not.
Mm-hmm. Do people still swim there fairly often?
Yeah, I think when I've been out on the road, I think I've seen, in the summer when it's warm, it's pretty popular. I mean, it's not. There's like a little pull off on Seven Bridges Road for a few vehicles, and then there's a lot just up the hill from it. That's where Maxwell Road, where the original artist used to live, where Maxwell Road, and then kind of the road that goes to Hawk Ridge, Skyline, and Seven Bridges Road all intersect at the very top. And there's a pretty decent parking lot there because there's access to trails and everything. And so, yeah, there's it's not as popular as like the Deeps or some areas down by the lower Leicester Park. I mean, we're talking like practically the top. So not as popular there, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty popular.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's just interesting how, going back to Chuck Frederick a little bit with like, not only is it another Chuck Frederick story where he had worked on it previously, it also involves vandalism kind of, because previously their story was the Island of Misfit Toys on the bridge. Yep. So we have the toys that are out there for mysterious circumstances and quote unquote vandalism ?
Yep.
And then also with the Bridge and Babe with their disappearance, now we have the smiley face disappearing.
Yep.
Though it sounds like this has reappeared more often than Bridge and Babe have.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think they've reappeared since the podcast. We haven't looked.
Right. And you're referring to the mannequins.
Yep.
That had
the Barbenheimer.
Right. In the late 90s or 95, I think, is when that article was written about the bridge in the bay that is still a stuffed animal graveyard. Anyway, there used to be mannequins out there, and we have got some wonderful photos from about almost 30 years ago now of the mannequins laying out on that island, to support this bridge. And I guess the day after that ran, someone went and stole those mannequins. So I don't know, we tend to, I guess, inspire actions.
Yeah. If you're interested more in that story, check out that's episode 24 of the podcast. Right. I just think it's interesting that we another Chuck Frederick story. And there's kind of a similar theme and rhyme to it,
Exactly.
People, and then even starting out with someone asked a question like, "What is this about?"
Right.
And then he searched, found an answer. You also looked into it, like, and then for this one particularly, you didn't think this was any story at all.
No.
Like, you just would walk by and or bike by it or whatever you were doing out there. You just see a smiley face and like, oh, that's a nice, interesting graffiti, but there's a whole story behind it.
Yeah, I think I would normally have thought that, oh, that's too bad. Like, that's a perfectly good rock. Why are you ruining the nature of it, right? I mean, this isn't on this. This is on a natural rock on a river where it's all just woods, except really just the stone arch bridge, crossing over. It's and then all of a sudden there's spray paint. So I get how that's not, probably today you should not go and add your own art, graffiti, whatever, to these natural faces. But, knowing that something has been around for so long, I think maybe changes the calculus. I don't know.
It's almost like a tradition. It's almost like a staple of the environment,
right,
if it's been around for that long, for the
yeah,
people who have lived nearby and been in the area.
Right. And to be fair, it used to look a lot better. It has not looked
good. The quality has dropped
years.
over the years.
Oh, immensely. And so, but I mean, what's art? What's graffiti? What's tradition? What's a nuisance? I mean, I don't know. There's ways to think about it and not actually, you don't have to actually condone it or anything like that, but there's ways to think about what is art, what is graffiti, and what is vandalism. And I don't know, is there a time that something becomes, because it's been there for so long, it should always be there? I don't know. I don't know the right answers.
It'd be interesting
but it's something to think about.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to actually hear what the city thinks about that.
Right, and I don't know if they know the full history of it either. I would love to have heard back, but yeah, I don't know if they see it, if they know the full history, right? I mean, maybe, I'm sure longtime Duluthians in the Parks Department, or longtime employees, or Duluth natives, whatever, I bet they do know that it's kind of always been there. Whether or not they know it's been there for that long, or the original story. Yeah, it's the Smile Rock. The Smile. Yeah.
I wonder if it's, I'm not sure this was available in the research, how well it survived over the winters and such, with snow and stuff. Obviously, if this was painted over, it wasn't the weather, if that was in fact the case, but
right.
I'm curious how well those kinds of things survive in our winter environment.
Yeah.
Granted, it's an angled rock, so it's not like it's like we got snow directly on it.
Right.
But
I think the sun probably does the most. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and both. I went on a cloudy day, but our earlier photos, one from '66 and one from 2008. I mean, it's like the sun is right on it, and I think that would fade paint really easily. So yeah, I'd be really curious if people have photos from any time. Send them in. I'd be really curious to see those. My email is jlovrien @duluthnewstribune.news. If you've got stories about them, about the swimming hole, about the face, about or photos of it over the years, we've got some significant gaps in photos. So from 66 to 2008. And from 2008 to 2023, I mean, we've got a little bit off Google Images, but they're not great. But if you've got anything, or pre-1966 maybe even, I don't know. But if you've got anything, send it in. Would be very interesting to see its evolution over the years and its iteration. And if you know more about the artist, Paul Lusua, I'm probably not pronouncing it right. But if you know more about him, I'd be curious to know more. So yeah, let me know.
And it's interesting as well that, like, if we were to classify it as indeed vandalism, at least it's optimistic. Like, it's a smiley face,
right.
It's not like, when you think of vandalism, oftentimes you think of like obscene or, inappropriate, get rid of it as fast as possible. But, it's a hopeful, cheery smile. It's even, more hopeful than, crucified stuffed animals on the bridge, like, it's positive.
Right. Especially that, what's probably the original, which was smile. It adds to your face value. It's a little bit better of a message than just, smile is nice with a smiley. And then it's just a smiley and you're not really sure what the message is. At least it's happy, I guess. But yeah.
And, normally I would ask, like, how it fits in Northlandia. And it's kind of like, one of the things for Northlandia is, like, stepping off the beaten path, or like curiosities of like it's almost like a reverse take on that, because like, you saw the smiley face and you're like, oh, okay, it's a smiley face, and then like, you later discovered, oh wait, there's more to the smiley face. It's not like you've been aware of it for some time now, and like it didn't cross your mind that there could be a story. Just that it was a smiley face that you discovered, and like you later found out that there was more to it. So it's kind of like, look a little closer at some weird things you see, and you might find something. Right.
Kind of what this reminds me of. The only kind of piece of painting or graffiti, whatever you want to call it, tag that it's kind of like this, where it's always been there and you don't think much of it until you see something that there's maybe a little bit of backstory, is under the 9th Street Bridge over Chester Creek. It's where 9th Street turns into 8th Street, that bridge, and the trails go under it. Big arch bridge, and under that, there's something that, and I haven't been down there for a little bit, but pretty sure it probably is still there. It was when I was a few years ago, and it says "Beat It," but it's like a mirrored vision of "Beat It." And then, and I don't know if this was there with it written at the same time, but it says "Slap." That's not in That's not mirrored. But anyway, so that's one. How do you get underneath? I mean, I don't know how. There's nothing to hold on to, and I don't know this for sure, but this would take probably quite a bit of rigging with ropes and harnesses, and some sort of probably be some climber or tree arborist or something. I don't know, but it to get underneath. I mean, that's a mystery. But it oddly enough, it used to be before that was repainted. Something said beat this, and then the date 10/1/92, and then the bridge was repainted, and someone returned and put beat it and slap underneath. And it's a mystery as to how one can do that, because it's way too far off the ground just to reach up or have anything to reach it. You can't hold on to anything there. And so I guess what I've always thought is someone must have rigged a rope beneath it and kind of shimmied out on it, or harnessed in and kind of used that. I don't know. But if you have ideas, theories, rumors, answers, who did it, again, drop me a line.
You are the one who did it?
Yeah.
You are the one.
No, I'm not there yet. No. But Perfect Duluth Day, I think, is where I saw it at first. They made a post about it in August 2014, and that brought it to my attention. And so anytime I'd be, hiking or running below it, I'd look up and be like, oh yeah, that is there. I guess I don't know how it got there. Like it would be a lot to be an operation. So anyway, if you know what happened, let me know.
Drop a line. All right, Jamie, I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thanks, Wyatt.
And thank you for joining us on this venture into Northlandia. To read the article for this week's column, as well as see photos, visit duluthnewstribune.com/topics/Northlandia. You can find all the episodes of Northlandia on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you or someone you know has a unique story that you believe could have a place here in Northlandia, let us know by emailing northlandia@duluthnew's.com. Join us again next week and discover the extraordinary stories that you just might miss if you're not in the right place at the right time, ready to step off the beaten path with no rush to return, here in Northlandia.